Hi there, and I am Ruth, and this is Rambling with Ruth. It started out going to be a channel to document my 2020 travel plans. I had become a widow in 2019, and I sold my house up in Virginia, and I was going to embark on a adventure. But the plague hit, and I ended up staying 4 months in Chicago. And then I decided to make a home base because my plans had been to go from city to city that I was interested in and rent an Airbnb. Well, I discovered I didn't like that, and so I was going to set up a home base where I could have my residency, a physical mailing address, and everything, and then go on month or 2 month trips, and then go from there. Well, again, the plague hit and whatnot, and so Rambling with Ruth just kind of became defunct. And then I started, as probably with everyone in 2020, doing lots and lots of crafts. I started out working through all my knit yarn stash, making a plethora of afghans. I have more afghans than I will ever need now. And so then I started getting back into cross stitch and diamond. I got into diamond painting, which is where I am now. And so I've just been doing that, and I decided to join the YouTube crew and go from there. So that's a little bit about me. I have two dogs, a little beagle named Dallas, and let's see if I can get a picture. She's hiding. Well, anyway, that's Molly. She's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And so they're going to be, if slash when the plague ever ends, I will be traveling back with my original plan since I'm all settled in. It did take the better part of a year to get all my residency and stuff set up here in North Carolina. But I do have home base. I do have a full-time job that I can work location independent. I'm very fortunate in that regards. But I decided Rambling with Ruth can be any outside work hobbies that I enjoy. And so I'm going to just post on here what I like. And so that's the start of this video. And a lot of times the diamond paintings and whatnots are just whips with me, or FlossTube does the here's my thing, here's all the things I bought. I don't think that's my style. So I'm going to just try out various things to see how it works and go from there. Yes, this is how you get me most of the time. I have crazy hair. I'm just out of the shower. But it's who I am. It's what I am. And this is me. I'm Ruth, and welcome to Rambling with Ruth. So what I thought I would do is go over my works in progress for cross stitching and diamond painting. And so this is my full coverage piece by Heaven and Earth Design. It's Mini Crossing Spirits, and I have it over here on my, I think this is a daylight frame stand with the light magnifier and the clip holder, but I don't really use a clip holder except to hold my extra floss strands that I'm currently working on. And I'm about 2% done currently, and this is the piece I'm going to be working on for full coverage fanatics. 21 and 21, but it's intense stitch, so it's going to be 42 in 21, so it's 42,000 tense stitches, and that should get me about a little bit over halfway done if I do that. But I'm also doing the stitch around Iceland on easy mode, and with the tense stitches I think that it will put me to the finish if I actually make it all the way around Iceland. And the next thing I have is something that I started yesterday, and I actually stitched quite a bit on this, but then I realized I had the top left corner oriented so that the long piece of fabric, which as you can see right here, was actually on the side, which means I would have been stitching the width along the longer piece and the height along the shorter part of the piece. And well, I would have ended up with not enough fabric, so I have to get a seam ripper, and I ripped out most of it, but the fabric is about 10 inches longer than it needs to be, so I don't even think I need to rip it out, but I'm still going to just because I'm that way. And I'm very classy, and this is on 18 count Earth and Ada. I kind of like the modeling effect, and I think that with the color choices that I'm choosing, it's going to look really good. I don't have a lot of fancy bags. I just go with what I have. This is my current work in progress for diamond painting. It is this. Say hello to Niblet. He's my stuffed bulldog. It's going to be really pretty, and I'm making this for my nephew to hang up in his room. And then the third piece that I'm going to be working on this month, it's this is actually on my bingo card for, I think it's for WhipGo 2021, and it's the Dimensions Balloon Gold piece. My goal, the number for this piece got called, so I had it on my board like 3 or 4 times, and 2 of the 3 numbers was this piece, and so I have to stitch 20 10 by 10 blocks, and I think I have one more block to go before I meet my first WhipGo board number, and then I'm going to do the other ones. And this is full coverage, even though there's some empty space right there, and that's fine. It's still above the 95% stitches on fabric versus fabric showing. So I think I'm going to, once I get to one of these blocks, I'm going to go up to the very top of the thing, and so then I can start doing the traditional full coverage thing. And yes, I have a little bit of chart showing, but you can't really garner anything from that. So these are my current progress. Oh, number 13 was called on WhipGo, and that's actually, I have that as do an extra month on another, on the 2020 sale from Linens and Things. And I did not pull that out, so let me go ahead and get that. So last month, this is the January 2020 chart. Yes, I am doing 2020, not 2021, because I like to have everything finished. And I don't have the cover photo for this, but this is January's, and I stitched this in December, and it took me about 2 weeks of stitching 3 hours every couple of days on it. So, but my number 13 is due an extra month's chart. So this month I'm going to be doing February, which is, it's not nearly as complex as this. The next several months are bands, and I should be able to get that accomplished. So my goal is to work on all of this month. So I'll see you soon.
Hello again, this is Ruth. So I'm going to answer some get to know me tags, and I'm just scrolling through this, so I really don't know if I'll answer all of them because the first couple look like it might be too personal. But so I Googled get to know me tag questions, and here's what's came up: 371 random get to know me questions. So the first one is, what is your full name? Yeah, not going to happen on the internet. My name is Ruth, and that's all you need to know. Number 2, what does your name mean? I believe that my name's official translation means friend to everyone, which is kind of true. I get along with everyone, and I do like that. My middle name also happens to be Rainbows, means rainbow. It's not rainbow. So, friend to everyone and rainbow is kind of cool. Am I named after anyone? Yes, I am. I'm named after my Aunt Ruth and my Aunt Olga. Um, I was the second daughter, and so my sister was named after our grandmothers, and so I was named after aunts on either side of the family. If you had to change your first name, what would you change it to? I'm pretty happy with my name. It may not be the most like sexy name or trendy name or anything, but I kind of like the fact that I was named after my aunts, and right now I really don't have identity to my name. It's just a label that people call me. So I don't really would change my name. Where are you from? Well, this is a long-winded story. I was born in the Deep South in Montgomery, Alabama, and then we moved to the Panhandle of Florida after a year stint in Mobile, Alabama. And then after that, in my preteen and teenage years, I actually lived overseas on a naval base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, which is a closed Navy base in Cuba. So no, I never actually, I've been to Cuba. I've not been to the Cuban part of Cuba because it was not allowed. Then after my dad's stint with his civil service job in the Navy down in Cuba, we moved back to the Panhandle of Florida where I finished out high school. And then I also went to college. There was a small state university near a bigger town that I grew up in. So I went to college there. And then after college, I got a job out in Denver, Colorado. So I moved out to Denver probably for about 2 years, and that was fun in my early 20s. I highly suggest that if you don't go off to school, you at least try to move to a different city from where you're from because it opens up your worldview. And then 9/11 hit in the early 2000s, and my whole business unit closed down. And so I was without a job in the Denver area in the 2001, 2002 timeframe. Basically, it was mostly telecom, and the telecom industry was heavily impacted by that. So I ended up getting a job with a place I interned at while I was in college. But the key was is I had to move. I had to spend 6 months in the city, Pensacola, and then they were moving the whole command up to Norfolk, Virginia. And so in 2003, I moved to Norfolk, Virginia. Actually, Virginia Beach, Virginia is where I ended up getting an apartment at. And I spent 4 years there, and I met my husband there, and I couldn't wait to leave Virginia, but I never actually left Virginia up until last year. And then that's when I discovered that life is what you make it, regardless of where you're at. And you have to learn to be happy with what you have and what you're given in the city you're in. And every single place has its benefits and perks, and you just got to make do with what you have. Um, and then after that, when my husband and I first started dating, he ended up getting a job up in Richmond, Virginia, which is where we moved to. And so I spent the past 15 years living up in Richmond, Virginia. And then I became a widow in 2019. And so after that, I really, like most of my friends that I had met, um, really close friends who I would consider family at that point, moved out of the area. And with my husband gone, and I went from being in-person employee with a local company to working as a 100% remote worker, there's really no reason for me to stay in Richmond. So I came up with this grand plan of going from city to city of places I might want to end up living full time or making a home base, and then um, renting an Airbnb for a month or two. And it's funny because you watch all these travel YouTubers and they just make it seem like it's easy breezy, lemon squeezy, and it's not really. I found it quite stressful only knowing where I was going to live for the next month. That was not for me. And so then when COVID hit in March, I was still in Chicago because I was just waiting for winter weather to settle down because I wanted to go to places where it would be better to travel in the spring and summer. And then I decided, maybe I should just make a home base. And so I ended up settling in North Carolina, mainly because I had family there and various financial reasons. The taxes were better than Virginia, and the cost of living is relatively low. So I came back to the East Coast because there were quite a number of East Coast travels I wanted to do anyway. And so I ended up driving back from Chicago to North Carolina with my two dogs, Molly and Dallas, and we set up a home base here. And now I've just been spending the previous 6, 7 months just hanging out, doing my arts and crafts, and waiting for the plague to go away, which may or may not happen soon, but we won't go into that. Um, so that's a really long-winded question to where you're from. The short answer is I basically am from everywhere. Where was I born? I believe I already answered that. Montgomery, Alabama. No, I do not have a Southern accent. It's because when I moved overseas, I was in sixth grade, and kids being that young, the minute you're made fun of something about yourself and you have the power to change it, you change it. So, yes, I did have a deep Southern drawl up until about sixth grade, and then no one else in my school system talked like me, and so I quickly lost it. And so now people say I sound like I'm from the Midwest more so than anything, but I talk really quick, so I really don't know where I sound like I'm from, but it's definitely not the Deep South. Who did I look up to growing up? Hmm. Well, the earliest person I can remember is Wonder Woman. I was born in the late 70s, and Wonder Woman TV show was a thing, and so I just thought she was so awesome, and quite frankly, that's the best movies in the DC universe that were made. Um, Real people growing up, I always really looked up to women in the science and technology field. So in the 80s, I wanted to be an astronaut, and so any of the female astronauts, Sally Ride was definitely high up on the list, and I liked reading about um, the ladies in the 1800s and early 1900s who dealt a lot with making scientific discoveries and whatnot. So Marie Curie, um, I can't remember the name, but the lady who helped write the first computer programming system, she was always big on my list. What are my best characteristics? Um, I'm going to go intangible. I think I'm adaptable, and I'm pretty easygoing and good natured and go with the flow, but I do have a strong sense of boundaries, so I'm pretty easygoing until you cross my line, and then I protect my boundaries. What's my favorite thing about myself? See above. Um, let's see, parents. So, which of my parents are you closest to? Well, my dad passed away when I was quite young, when I was like 18. And my mom, I guess my mom. What parents are you most like? Probably my dad, but I'm working off of like 25-year-old memories. Are my grandparents still married? No, my grandparents are no longer alive, and my parents are no longer alive. So technically, yes, because till death do you part, I guess. I don't know. What relative was important to you growing up and why? It wasn't a blood relative, but my mom had a really good female friend named Mary, and so we called her Aunt Mary, and she always made me feel like the specialist person in the world, and she always sent me a card, and I just loved getting letters and cards from her. And there was never anything in the card, so it wasn't like, oh, I get money from Aunt Mary. It was just she took time out of her life to write me a letter and put it in the post. So that was important to me to make me feel like I someone was thinking of me, went out of their way to write me a letter and send me a card. Um, what would my parents have named me if I was the opposite gender? I have no idea. That's never come up in conversation. I was never curious about that. What do you call your grandparents? On my mom's side, grandma. My grandfather on my mom's side, I never met. On my dad's side, he was from Germany, so the German equivalent of grandma, grandpa, which is Oma and Opa. What's my best physical feature? Um, my brain, my smile. I don't know. I don't really. That doesn't concern me any. What's my biggest accomplishment? I think my biggest accomplishment was getting over my anxiety after I graduated from college and actually just taking the leap, moving out to Denver, and realizing that I have the reserves in me to adapt and overcome. And now this was in the early 2000s, so the internet was just starting out. And so it's not like you had Google and whatnot, Google Maps, mapping. We had this thing called MapQuest, which routinely was not good. And so it was just moving to a big city compared to where I came from and being able to um, adapt and make do. What's my biggest fear? Dying in a fire. Yes, being caught on fire is my biggest fear. What's my biggest regret? I'm going to pass on that. What is my eye color? I have green eyes that sometimes turn gray or bluish gray, but most of the time they're green. I guess technically they're hazel because there's some gold flecks in it. What inspires me? Hmm, I don't know. Um, I guess just living each moment. I've had a lot of loss of people in my life, so just knowing that everything you say to everyone is what you need to say to them at the moment in time and just living in the present. But that's not really inspiration. Um, I'm definitely a STEM girl, so I'm not nearly as like that way. The most important thing in my life is my health and happiness and my two dogs. Who is my favorite actor? I don't know. I'm gonna pass all the um, celebrity questions. What's my favorite childhood memory? I guess when my dad would come back from Germany from visiting his parents, it was always fun to, see him again and whatnot. So whenever he would return from visiting his family, what's my favorite color? Purple. That's easy. My favorite drink is Coke Zero Cherry. Oh, no, 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 no. In the remix machines in like fast food restaurants, you could add your own sugar-free flavoring. And so they make this now, but they didn't back when they were first bottling Coke Zero. Is you do some orange and some vanilla. That's very tasty too. Don't knock it. It's tasty. It's not everyone's cup of tea because some of my coworkers and I, we talk about different flavored diet sodas that we drink, and diet or Coke Zero by far tastes like the most. I don't drink sugar, so it's the most palatable. Like if I'm going to have a treat, mostly I just drink water, but definitely orange vanilla Coke Zero. What's my favorite fairy tale? I don't know. My dad was German, and so like we grew up reading like the original Grimm's fairy tales, and so like fairy tales from Germany are like dark and twisted and not what Disney like rewrites them to be. So they're more like horror stories than like kids fairy tales. Um, but I guess the one that I like the best because when my niece was little, I would tell her the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story, and I had like had voices to go along with it. So it's not because it's a story, it's because of the memories associated with it. Because basically, I would tell her the story every single night and do the voices, and if I just was trying to speed through it, she would call me out on it. And so, yeah, it's not really the story that I like; it's just the memories that I have associated with it. What is my favorite food? Well, I had weight loss surgery, so I really can't consume a whole lot. And I didn't have like the traditional gastric bypass. I had something called a duodenal switch. So I have a sleeve and then intestinal rerouting. Um, so I don't really eat for enjoyment anymore, but I would say that there's always room for like a bite of really good chocolate. But it's funny because after my weight loss surgery, whatever they did with my intestinal rerouting, like I used to crave sugar all the time, and like I can literally have a bite of chocolate now and be okay with it, which is completely unheard of. And if I like 4 years ago, if someone would have said that to me, I would have called bullshit on it. But it is the truth. Favorite holiday destination? Well, I like sunshine. And on the east coast of the United States, it is dark and dreary and it's the land of sticks and gray, mainly because all the leaves fall off the trees and it's gray. So I like to go someplace warm. And my husband and I, we had mainly, we never had children. And so it was always easy. And plus, the holidays were not a big deal. So we would always go in the weeks, like the first 2 weeks of December is always like non-peak season wherever it's warm, and so you could always find the cheapest rates and everything. So it's not really, it's holidays because it was our Christmas trip, but it wasn't during Christmas. So we would routinely go down to Cancun because it was a shorter flight from the East Coast down there. Although one year for my birthday, we did go out to Hawaii, and that was from the East Coast, a very, very, very long trip. And it was the week that it rained in Hawaii, because apparently Hawaii weather's great, except for a week every year or so. And and we were there that week, and the time change was really weird and everything. But yeah, I had fun there too. So someplace warm and sunny is my favorite holiday destination. It's not, I don't care where it is, as long as it's warm and sunny. My favorite ice cream flavor. You know what I like? Um, Ben and Jerry's makes Caramel Sutra, which is like vanilla and chocolate ice cream, one on each side with a caramel cone. Is it caramel or caramel? Anyway, I say caramel. Other people pronounce caramel. I think it can go either way. So that's a good ice cream. But if it's just like standard ice cream, mint chocolate chip is also pretty good. My favorite genre of music, because I was born in the late 70s, I became a teenager in the late 90s, so classic rock was having a resurgence as well as grunge. So basically, any kind of guitar heavy rock music's my favorite. Not a big fan of the 80s hair bands, but they have some good ballads that I still listen to. My favorite physical activity, I used to be a swimmer, but I really enjoy a good old walk. It can be as challenging or as relaxing as you want it to be. And it's just nice to find a nature trail and just walk. Um, my favorite quote, I don't really have one. I always joke that it's the Ferris Bueller quote um, that I can't remember right now, so we'll just leave it at that. My favorite snack, I don't really snack anymore, but I would say cheese sticks if I were to snack. Um, Cheesehead cheese sticks to be precise because they're relatively inexpensive and they actually still taste like mozzarella cheese. My favorite sports, I don't do sports ball. Um, my favorite time of day. It's a funny story. I used to think I was a morning person until I stopped drinking coffee for a little bit and then realized I was just a coffee person because my brain doesn't actually wake up first thing in the morning. But I do like first thing in the morning or right before bed where I just have time to focus and concentrate. I'm more productive earlier in the morning, but my brain's just not awake then. My favorite type of clothing, anything comfortable. My favorite way to pass time, I like to read and do arts and crafts currently. It's diamond painting and cross stitch. I also knit and crochet, which is fun. I'm an introvert, so I need just time by myself. I don't have a favorite restaurant. My favorite all-time city or town is probably Denver, mainly because, no, I changed my mind. It's London. Because London, before I moved to Denver, I had some extra money one year because I worked extra and then I ended up getting a scholarship to college. So money I was going to spend on college, I had free. And so I went on a backpacking trip across Europe. And I remember sitting in London and my mom basically said, "You're going to get lost, you're going to get murdered, blah, 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 blah." And I remember sitting on a double-decker bus in the middle of London, and this was in the late 90s, so they were having car bombings routinely. And we were stuck in traffic for a while. And I remember, it's like there was a bombing and I'm 2 blocks away and I'm safe. And then I realize that the world, it has scary stuff happening in it, but overall it's okay and I can basically do and be safe wherever I go. And it was a very freeing realization. That's when I started not listening to my anxiety. My favorite candle scent. I have dogs, so I used to love like sweet bake shop scents, but with dogs, you don't want to mix wet dog and those kinds of scents. So I'm a big fan of citrusy scents. One of my favorite scents, and I not found a candle in this, but it's yuzu. It's basically it's a Japanese citrus fruit, and it smells really good. It's like a cross between a grapefruit and an orange smell, and it's like so bright and tart and tangy smelling. I've never had this fruit, but I would love to try it because if it tastes anything like it smells, it would be fantastic. Um, so I just like citrusy scents. My favorite social media channel, YouTube. I really don't understand that question. My favorite subject in high school, strangely enough, was math, and we took like a computer class, but that's where I learned how to program. So that's what my love of all things computers come from. My least favorite subject in high school was probably English, mainly because I had a mental block towards spelling and grammar, and I just didn't get it, and it was hard. And no matter how hard I tried, like with math, I wouldn't get a concept initially, but after a while, my brain would noodle enough up to be able to do it. But English, I never understood because there's no pattern to it. My brain works in patterns and finding commonalities, and then I can basically approach any problem that way. But with English, there's just too many exceptions to the rules. I do love reading, though. I read quite a bit. I like the literature and the reading aspect of it, but in terms of grammar and writing, was very difficult for me to do. Favorite TV show when I was a child? Let's see. Again, I think I answered that earlier, but it was definitely the Wonder Woman show from the early 80s. Um, are you scared of heights? No. Are you high maintenance? No. Are you more inclined to build your own empire or unleash the potentials of others? I don't necessarily think it's an either or thing. I think that everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and you can accomplish quite a bit as a team if you do that. So I guess it's probably the second one because I don't need to be in charge. Are you more likely to avoid conflict or engage it head on? I'm not confrontational, but I will also call people out on stuff if they cross my boundaries. Am I a dog person or a cat person? I'm both. I currently have dogs, but I do like cats. I've had cats in the past, and so I'm not an either or. Are you a fan of any sports teams? No, I don't really follow sports. I don't know sports, so I don't enjoy watching it. Um, except for hockey. Hockey, I don't understand what's going on, but it's so action packed and like the quarters actually don't drag on, so I like that it's short and to the point and skating. Are you a good cook? Yeah, I'm a relatively good cook. I also like to bake. Um, but I don't really do much of that anymore because it's just me, and generally, if I'm going to go through the trouble of doing something, the food will go bad before I have a chance to eat it all. Are you an early adapter or a late adopter? It depends. With phones, I have a tendency to, because they're so expensive, wait. I don't need the latest and greatest. But when it comes to learning new ideas and stuff like that, I have a tendency to read about it and then formulate my own opinions and see how I can roll it into my life. If you had more courage, what would you do differently in your life now? Well, that's assuming that I would change anything because I've had low points and high points, but I wouldn't be where I'm at currently if I made any changes. So, and plus, I decided early on that I wouldn't ever regret anything. And so, if I would have thought 5 years from now I would regret not doing something, I went ahead and forced myself to do it, and it always ended up for the better. Um, I don't like the next couple of questions. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in your life? Hmm. I've seen some pretty weird stuff. I was in downtown Denver one time and I saw a very short man with a very tall, large man on a leash. So I guess that would be it. And quite frankly, I wasn't in any kind of special club or anything. I was just randomly walking to a restaurant and saw that on the streets. So it's not like I actively sought that kind of um, entertainment. Who is the biggest pack rat, like hoarder? Um, I don't really know many hoarders, but I don't really go over to many people's houses, so I really wouldn't know if someone was a hoarder or not. Although there's this person down the street from me who has an amazingly jam-packed garage. Like, I'm talking, you can't even see the concrete floor or the roof, the ceiling. Who is the first person you call when something exciting happens? Probably, I don't talk on the phone, so I would change that to text. And that would be one of my girlfriends. Who's the first person you call when something horrible happens? Well, it depends on what's happening and if I need to notify someone immediately that something horrible has happened, if not one of my girlfriends. I'm not going to answer who's the worst boss I ever had, except it involved knife throwing at me with no provocation. I mean, I was a little shit when I was in my teens and 20s, but the particular case is I did absolutely nothing, and she just lost her temper and threw a knife, and it happened to land right next to me. Um, can you close your eyes and raise your eyebrows? Why, yes, yes, I can. Can you do a split? No. Can you touch your tongue with your nose? Nope. Can I whistle? No, and you don't even want me to try. I've tried for many years, and the best I can get out is a faint hiss. Can I dance? Well, it depends on what your definition of dancing is, but not really. Do you remember your dreams? Not very often. Um, yeah, I sometimes I'll wake up and something will be vivid or whatnot, but generally speaking, every night, no, I don't remember my dreams. Do you save old greeting cards and letters? Yes, I do. I have a box full of memories, and every time I want to think about someone that's no longer here, I pull them out and have a little piece of them with me. Do you sing in the shower? No, because growing up in Cuba, we had desalination plants, and I learned from a very early age, you get in, do your business, and get out. There's no time for singing. I do sing in the car, though. Do you sleep with the lights on or off? I sleep with the lights off. In fact, I have to have pretty limited light um, pollution for when I sleep. So, do you spell the color as Grey or Gray? I think EY, but I don't know which way is right. Do you take any pills or medications daily? Yes. Do you prefer kissing or cuddling? Did they pull these off of a dating site? Um, Cuddling, I guess. Do you prefer Titanic or The Notebook? I've never seen The Notebook and I've seen Titanic, but I'm not a big fan of those types of movies, so neither. Do you have a catchphrase? Nope. Do you have a garden? Nope. Do you have a hidden dream that you've never shared with anyone? No. Do you have a tattoo? Excuse me. No, but I do want one. Let me take a drink. I'm not used to talking for 30 minutes straight. Ah, sorry about that. Do you have a whole lot of acquaintances or very few close friends? I have very few close friends. It's just the type of personality I have. Do you have any allergies? Yes, I'm allergic to the East Coast, anything that grows on it. And I have a seafood intolerance, and I will not go into what kind of intolerance it is. Do you have any birthmarks? No, I do not. Do you have pets? Yes, I have a 13-year-old beagle named Dallas and a almost 4-year-old Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Molly. Do you carry a donor card, like an organ donor card? Yeah, well, I don't have a card. It's a little symbol on my driver's license. Do you have a best friend? If so, then who? Yes, I do have a best friend, and I'm pretty certain that person would not like me blasting their name out on the internet. Do you believe ignorance is bliss? Why or why not? No, I don't believe ignorance is bliss because generally speaking, if someone is up to no good and you get mad at it about it, if it was the case, then the person's lying to you if they're retaining that information, and because omission is the same thing as lying, and if you're living your life thinking a certain set of circumstances is happening and it's not actually the case, then no, not for me. Do you believe in love at first sight? Not really. Who sent the last text message you received? I don't know. Let me go check. It is from CVS Pharmacy. Exciting. Who was the last person you ate dinner with? My nieces and nephews. Who was my first celebrity crush? Okay, so Harrison Ford, like back in the Indiana Jones and Star Wars days. Oh yeah, I was little and he was very cute and a very bad boy. Um, who was your first friend in college? Oh, I don't remember. It's been a while. Um, I have friends still from college, but I don't remember who the first of them were. Who would you tell first if you found a dead body in the garden? Um, I would call the sheriff's department. Um, I'm not going to answer the next couple. What is my star sign? I am an Aquarius. I am a January's baby. Do I believe in astrology? Not really, but for some reason, I know this piece of information. What is something that amazes you? Just children's like wonderment. Everything they approach is new and exciting, and yeah, it's really amazes me because I'm an old bitter hag now. What is at the top of your bucket list? I would love to take a cruise along the Scandinavian countries and see the Northern Lights. That's what I would like, but that's going to happen. So, and it doesn't necessarily need to be because I'm kicking the bucket either. When I have things I want to do, I just go do them. What is the name of your first pet? My first pet's name was a little cat who was a stray down in Cuba, and her name was Miss Kitty because I did not want to get attached because she was a stray. But then she caught a rat, and then she became the house cat when she wanted to come inside. What scares you about aging? Losing my memory. Um, really, the brain is an important thing to have, and it's scary if it goes away. How difficult is it for you to be honest, even when your words may be hurtful or unpopular? It's not scary. I think that you should be honest with your words, regardless of how they may be perceived. But I also think that a person has a responsibility for framing their words and word choices in a manner that will get their point across without being purposely hurtful. Because sometimes you got to tell your girlfriend something and it's just not fun to hear, but she got to hear it. How difficult is it for you to forgive someone who refuses to apologize? Well, first of all, I would want the apology to be heartfelt. So if they really honestly felt like they shouldn't apologize, then for something that hurt me even after I told them, then I would move on and not talk to that person away. So I guess pretty difficult. How far away from your birthplace do you live now? Quite a bit. How has birth order characteristics of siblings affected you? Not much. I mean, we're all are different people and have different personalities, so um, yeah, not really. How many countries have you been to? Let's see. 13? Yeah, most of them are in Europe, though, in the Caribbean. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? I say Caribbean. How many oceans have you swum in? Two, but I don't really like swimming in open bodies of water. It is a fear of mine, and it's something I've never overcome, so I do not get in oceans normally. How many pairs of shoes do you currently own? Let's see. I've got flip-flops. I've got strappy sandals. I've got tennis shoes. I've got two pairs of boots, five pairs of shoes. I prefer quality over quantity, and I have problems with my ankles and my feet, so I have to buy pricey shoes so that my feet don't kill me. How many rings before you answer the phone? If it's an unknown number, I send it straight to voicemail. Um, and assuming I hear it, because most of the time my phone's on silent, if I recognize a number, I'll answer it. How many tattoos do you have? That was already in this list, so really it's 370 questions. I have zero, but I do probably want to get one. I'm just trying to decide what and where. How old do you think you'll be when you get married? Well, I already know the answer to this question, and the answer was 27. Um, how old were you when you found out Santa wasn't real? I don't think anyone ever like told me. I just kind of like figured it out and no one denied it. And that was when I was like 7 or 8. How old were you when you learned to ride a bike? Let's see, probably 5. And I learned how to ride the bike, but I didn't learn how to brake. And our driveway was on the top of a hill. And so let's just say that the mailbox across the street was what broke my ride. And thank God there were no cars driving on the street when that happened. What store would you choose to max out your credit card? Nothing is worth maxing out a credit card. Would you ever consider living abroad? Yes, yes, I would. Um, for as much trouble as I have with the English language, it would have to be an English speaking country because I don't think I'm actually capable of learning a second language. How many days could you last in solitary confinement? Um, I don't know. Have you ever suffered a fracture? Like in a bone? No. Wait, yes. Yes, I have in my knee. Have you ever dated two people at one time? Possibly. Have you ever been in a beauty pageant? No. Have you ever ridden on a motorbike? No, I have not, but I am interested. Maybe not driving one, but definitely being a passenger. Have you ever taken a self-defense lesson? No, I don't think so. Have you ever visited a country outside your continent? Yes, yes, I have. Have you ever won a trophy or an award? Probably, but I don't remember, so I can't answer what it was for. Have you read any of the Harry Potter, Hunger Games, or Twilight series? Yes, I've read all the Harry Potter books. I read the Hunger Game books. but none of the Twilight books. I would say Harry Potter, despite um, the author being problematic in terms of what she perceived as human rights. Um, but it is still my favorite world of the three. Um, what female celebrity do you wish was your sister? I don't know. I don't really keep track of celebrity stuff. Um, Emily Blunt seems like she would be cool to hang out with, or Anne Hathaway. What flavor tea do you enjoy? I enjoy ginger. Um, it's a blend of ginger and something else, and that's very tasty. It's nice and spicy, and it soothes your throat. In fact, I wish I had some now. What's the one thing would you rather pay someone to do than do yourself? Why? Yard work. I hate yard work. Generally, you have to do yard work during the summertime, and it's hotter than heck, and it's humid as heck, and no, I just would prefer to pay someone else to do it. What is the first amusement park you've ever been to? I believe it was Disney World in Orlando. Um, yeah, pretty sure that's it. What's the most boring movie you ever watched? If a movie bores me, I normally turn it off so I don't watch it completely through, and I don't remember most boringest one. Um, I don't like the next couple of questions. They're boring. What is the farthest away place you've been? Like the furthest I've traveled is to Hawaii. What is under your bed? I don't have anything under my bed because I have storage units, and in my storage drawers, I have extra bed sheets and blankets and my diamond painting stuff. What is on the walls of the room you're in? Well, currently, I've just recently moved in, and I do not have anything on the walls yet because I'm a lazy bastard and I haven't hung anything. What is one guilty pleasure you enjoy too much to give up? I enjoy coffee way too much to give up, so probably that. Where do you buy your jeans? Old Navy, Eddie Bauer, Amazon. I'm not really picky as long as they fit. Where would you want to retire to? Either New Mexico or Arizona. What is something you wish you were gifted at doing? Playing music. That would be really nice. What is the first movie you remember seeing? It was a Muppet movie. I don't remember the name of it. It was a long time ago. What is one item you can't leave home without? My wallet, followed closely by my cell phone. Possibly my cell phone, but in all honesty, it's really my keys because keys. What do you like about your home? It is peaceful and calming and quiet. Um, are you a morning person or a night owl? I think I answered this question before. I thought I was a morning person, but it just turns out I'm a coffee person. I do have a tendency, if I let my sleep be my sleep, to be a night owl. What time do you usually get up in the morning? By 6 a.m. because my beagle has impeccable beagle timing, and that is when she goes out and is expecting breakfast and will not like let me be until she gets both of those. What is your usual bedtime? I'm probably in bed between 10 and 11 p.m. most nights. What is the first thing you do when you open your eyes in the morning? Well, I open my eyes in the morning. And then I take the dogs out. What is the first app you check when you wake up in the morning? It depends. I have a tech job where I'm on call, so if I am on call, I will check my on call app to see if there's anything outstanding. If not, I normally don't um, check much of anything the first hour or so after waking up. Again, here's another question. Do you remember your dreams in the morning? No, I don't. You already asked me if I remembered my dreams, and I do not. Um, What is the first time you were allowed to put on makeup? Probably when, well, does chapstick count? Because if chapstick counts with like the tint in it, then I was like 5 or 6. Real adult makeup, probably not until I was 12 or 13. Um, what kind of books do you enjoy reading? I really enjoy reading fantasy sci-fi stuff. So, a series I really like is the Dresden Files. And let's see, I'm reading a lot of Brian Sanderson's books. And currently on my Kindle, um, I'm reading the Witcher series. That actually answers the next 3 questions. What is the last movie you saw at the cinema? Um, I don't remember. It's been so long since I've been to a real theater. What is the last thing you downloaded onto your computer? Worryingly enough, Microsoft Office. What is the last thing you watched on TV? I don't remember. Probably something on the Food Network. What kind of car do I drive? I drive a Subaru. Thank you for asking. What language besides your native language would you like to be fluent in? I would like to be able to speak German and Spanish, mainly because I think that would get me being able to communicate with a wide variety of the world's population that's not native English speakers. Um, well, I actually think that this is going to wrap it up. So thank you for listening to me ramble in my scratchy throat that is not nearly hydrated enough. And I hope to do more videos like this more often. So I hope you have a good one, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.